Welcome to Nourish to Flourish, the very first live virtual event put on by the BodyKInd Collective and myself. So it's the fall of 2019, and I'm pacing around my childhood bedroom, visiting my mom, and I'm on a call with my very first call with my health coach, my brand new health coach. And after years of dieting, and for me, it always felt like the diets worked because they would work. I would lose some weight. I would have the body that I was looking for. And it took almost 6 years for me to regain weight to a point where I was dissatisfied again. And then I would go back into it. So after about almost 2 decades of this cycle, I finally had enough. So I'm on the call with this health coach, and I told her I'd had a breakthrough. Actually, I just gone to one of my first Tony Robbins events. And I learned this really cool framework, which is that unhappiness is when reality does not equal your blueprint. And suffering is when reality does not equal your blueprint and you feel powerless to change it. And your blueprint is just a collection of beliefs. It's all of the things that you make up are the way life should be and the way things should be. So again, I was at a point where reality didn't equal my blueprint yet again. And I was starting to feel powerless. I was suffering because at this point I had tried to change it so many times. I tried to change my reality so many times. So I had this breakthrough and I thought, what if it's not the reality that needs to change, but my blueprint? And that's when I hired this coach, and I'm on the phone with this health coach, and I said to her, you know what? I don't even care about the beach bod anymore. And by beach bod, you know what I mean. I would say I have a great beach bod now. I don't care about the beach bod now anymore. All I want is peace. And that was one of the hardest things I ever said because I felt like I was giving up on something I had fought for decades at this point. And she said, you know what, Caroline? What if you can have both? And my heart sank through the floor. I have to try again. I am not allowed to finally find peace. And unfortunately, that led me into where I thought I was at rock bottom when I had that revelation, but that led me to the real rock bottom. Fall of 2019 is followed by the spring of 2020, and we're in the midst of a pandemic, and I'm quarantined living with my mom in my childhood home. And the only thing I could control was my food and my exercise. And I got to a point where all of the practices that I was doing to make myself healthy actually took away my health. And I could finally see that what I was doing was not producing the results. It wasn't giving me the vitality that I really wanted in my life. Of course, I didn't know it at the time. I thought something else was wrong with me. I was going to all these doctors trying to figure out, like, why don't I have the energy to go for a freaking walk? Like, I've always been a strong, robust human. I remember one specialist who was looking at my hormones literally looked at my chart and looked up at me, looked down at my chart and said, well, your BMI looks great, and moved right on. No one stopped to ask, what are you eating? What are your eating habits like? If I had told them, they would probably have seen some red flags there. So this was the breakthrough that led me to my eventual freedom, where I realized by the fall of 2020, I realized I was not okay. Something was wrong here. I had reached a weight that I thought was good enough. And I was like, okay, it's time to eat carbs again. And I had this hilarious picture of me with a big bowl of popcorn. That was my first carbs I was eating in a long time. My collarbone sticking out. I'm like, holy crap. And what I realized when I started eating carbs again, my energy came back. My body felt alive again. I started eating more meals. I started eating more food. I started moving, started having the energy to go for the walks and do the exercise that I always wanted to do. So tonight, you're going to get a 10,000-foot view of what that process actually looks like. It took me 2 years to go through it, but I've condensed it for you to give you an idea of how to actually have this kind of change that can lead to freedom. So my name is Caroline Cohen. I'm a certified life coach, certified with the International Coach Federation, as well as the Coactive Training Institute. I'm a speaker. I have a master's degree in leadership. And I founded the BodyKIND Collective, where we help high-achieving women find peace in their bodies and freedom with food. We facilitate experiential learning to help you reclaim your health on every level: mind, body, soul, spirit, and physical. I guide freedom seekers like you to throw off diet culture and really tune into your body's wisdom. So what are we talking about tonight? The problem for most people is that they are dissatisfied in some way with the size and or shape of their body or their weight. Maybe it's not even what they see in the mirror, but it's what you see on the scale. I have one client who will look in the mirror and be like, wow, I look great today, and then step on the scale and her whole day nosedives because she didn't like the number she sees on the scale. So this is the problem that we're solving. What do most people do? There's 3 different methods. I say there's the just do it method, which are diets, clean eating. Yes, that's a diet. Calorie counting, keto, intermittent fasting, high carb, low carb, all those things. Extreme exercise plans like 75 hard, which ask you to work out for an hour and a half a day. I don't know about you, but I have more important things to do with my time and energy than beat myself up for an hour and a half a day. I love going for a good run. I love working out, don't get me wrong. But to have to do that is punishment. Weight loss programs, the next level, Weight Watchers, now WW and Noom, both diets, they're both restrictive, telling you what you can and can't eat. Well, it says it's a lifestyle change, still doesn't work long-term for most people, or else you wouldn't have to have a lifetime membership. And then more extreme diet pills and surgery, which can really have detrimental, surgery especially can have detrimental long-term effects. Diet pills, usually some detrimental effects and some just don't work in the long term. So all of these solutions are temporary solutions. And the reason they're temporary is because they're actually solving the wrong problem. You saw this reality and blueprint thing. All those are trying to change the reality of your body, when the problem was never your body to begin with. It's what you think about your body and how you feel about your body. That is where the suffering actually lives. Because there are people with bodies of all shapes and sizes who are happy, who are in great relationships, who have great sex, who have great marriages, who eat whatever they want. There are people who are thriving, who have great careers in all shapes and sizes of bodies. So the problem was never your body. It's what you think and feel about it. So that's what I'm here to help you with. So I have a lasting solution that is really, really the last solution you'll ever need, and I call it Just BB. And Just BB stands for your blueprint, which is the foundation. What is the blueprint? What do you think and feel about what you believe about how your body should be? And then the next pieces are how do you maintain that blueprint and how do you have your habits match that? So your body image, what you see when you look in the mirror, how you feel about your body, eating intuitively. A lot of people, if you've had a blueprint for a long time that says my body is wrong, often your body image and your eating habits have gotten a little screwed up. And then in your environment, what are the inputs that you're getting from the outside? What kind of social media and people you're hanging out with? And then enjoyment and celebration, because if it's not fun, it's not sustainable. So before I go any further, I asked you to bring a journal with you. I'd love for you to finish the sentence. When I achieve my ideal body or my ideal weight, I will gain blank. Go ahead and pull out your journal. I'll put some music on for you and give you just over a minute to do some soul searching on this. When I achieve my ideal body or ideal weight, I will gain what? Just to give you some food for thought on this, I had one client who thought they would gain love by being thinner. And what she got was attention, but deep down, she felt that her worthiness of that attention was tied to her body. You didn't like me when I was heavier. Why do you like me now? Even though she got the attention, it never happened like deserved it. and all of these relationships ended. Another person that I worked with actually thought it would be really good for her career, which, to be fair, there is absolutely discrimination in the workplace against people with bigger bodies. But this person spent so much time worrying about their diet that they actually didn't have the time and attention put toward work.
They weren't giving their energy.
They're putting their creative energy toward their diet. And then for me, like I shared, I thought that
Losing weight was going to be good.
I actually already had a lot of really healthy habits, but my body was bigger than I thought it should be in order to be healthy, because we have this whole idea of the BMI, which tells us that there's a healthy and unhealthy BMI, which is actually was never meant. As I told you, the actions that I took to drop the weight actually stole my mental. So as you're writing, think about what will you gain? And I want you to get to the deepest level here. You write down something like, I'm going to gain status by having a certain body. Ask, what is status going to give me? What is the underlying need that I'm trying to fill by changing my body?
It's the hope that keeps me coming back to you.
Okay. So now the thing that you've written down, the goal of this method is that you can achieve these things for yourself no matter the shape and size of your body. That you always have access to worthiness, to love, to feeling good enough, to feeling strong, to feeling valuable, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, that those things are unconditional for you. Again, the way that we do that is by changing your blueprint, changing how you see the world, and then working with your body image, intuitive eating, environment, enjoyment, and celebration. So today we're actually going to touch on all 5 of these. It's the first time I've ever touched on all 5 in a webinar. So you really get the full arc of what we're doing here, but we're just going to do a little bit on each. So when you think about your blueprint, we talked about what unhappiness is. So what is happiness? Happiness is when your blueprint equals your reality. And a blueprint is a collection of beliefs. Before you close your journal, take another minute to think about, what is your outdated blueprint? What is the one that was created for you, maybe by society or your family or your magazines or social media or whatever other influences have been creating this blueprint for you? For me, one example is that thinness was going to make me healthier, happier, more lovable. Another piece in there is, if my body is bigger than blank size, it's wrong, it needs to be fixed, which means there's something wrong with me. Or thinking, if I'm bigger than a certain size, I lack self-discipline and I need to work harder. That was a big one for me for a long time too. People in bigger bodies were perceived as lazy, or that it was my fault. If the diet's not working, it's my fault. So what are just jot down a few notes on some pieces of your old blueprint. Great job. Now I'm going to give you an example. Here's one form of an upgraded blueprint, which is that my healthy weight is the weight my body is at when I eat foods I like and I move in ways that feel good in my body, mind, and spirit. And now I know you're probably excited to create your upgraded blueprint right now, but hold on. We're going to actually get to that at the very end of the call. And as we go through the next 4 steps, and you're going to have a chance to take notes on some things that are going to potentially go into your upgraded blueprint. So let's talk about body image. Body image is hugely influenced by the things that we see in the media, the people that we have in our lives, the kind of clothes that are fashionable at this time. It's changed drastically over as time changes. My friends were just was just telling me about how much she adores the Renaissance, and she loves looking at Renaissance paintings where they have these like beautiful plump women who are the pinnacle of the beauty standard at that time because of what that meant in society. So there isn't actually an objective beauty standard that these things are created by society. One piece, again, this is a bigger topic, but just the one piece I want to touch on today is the idea of body dysmorphia. Body dysmorphic disorder is a psychological disorder where you spend so much time worrying about one thing or some parts of your body that, or it could be your whole body, that you hate or that you think looks really bad. And it can take up hours of your day. You won't leave the house, or you won't go to certain things because you don't like the way you look. That's body dysmorphic disorder, and that's extreme. But there's a spectrum. And this is something I wish I had understood years and years and years ago. I remember back in 2017, I think I was living at a house that with folks who became like family to me. The daughter was visiting. She's only a few years younger than me, and her name is Zippy. And she's naturally very thin build. And she starts going on about how she just realized she has body dysmorphia and what that means. And she sees herself. And I'm looking at her going, "You think you're fat? What? Like, how is that possible that someone with your body could look in the mirror and think that you're fat?" And later that night, I had this little seed of hope. I was like, wait, what if I have body dysmorphia? What if what I see in the mirror is actually wrong? What if I'm actually thin like Zippy and I'm just looking in the mirror and seeing something wrong because I have body dysmorphia? And I have this hopeful thought. And then I think, I'm standing in the tiny bathroom at that moment, lifting up my shirt, looking, examining, is this possible? How can I actually find an objective measurement here? Anyone else ever tried to find an objective measurement for your body to make sure that you were wrong? And then I thought, you know what? Zippy is actually objectively fewer pounds than me. So what I see must be true. And if you saw a picture of me at that time, holy crap, was I wrong. The thing I saw in the mirror at that time was not at all reflective, not at all reflective of how I actually look to the outside world. And there's no way to know. When you're in it, you see what you feel, how you feel. How are you going to know? Well, there are a couple markers that I'm going to share with you right now that are clues that you might be experiencing body dysmorphia on some level. And it might not be big and all the time. It might not be ruining your life, but it might be. It really might be. Think about, have you ever had a picture taken of you? And when someone took the picture, you looked at it and you were like, oh my God, it looks so bad. Like, oh my gosh, I hope no one ever sees that picture. Wow. Okay. That looks so bad, right? And you're all like, wow, hate that picture. Maybe it's a day later, maybe a week later, maybe a month later, but at some point in the future, you look back at that picture and you say, wow, I looked great. How did I think I looked bad then? I remember I thought I looked bad then. That's a sign of body dysmorphia. Another one, and this one actually still happens to me these days, but I know it's happening, so it doesn't bother me. But you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you're like, oh yeah, look at you. Looking hot today. Yeah, that's right. You look great. Go off and you have your day, you eat all your meals and you come home and you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, how did I gain 10 pounds in a day? How did that happen? And your brain's obviously that's not possible, but what in the mirror, you actually look different to yourself. That's body dysmorphia. Those are some of the clues that you can use to see, is this something I'm experiencing? Another one for me, my sister, I can only buy clothes when I'm with my big sister. And I remember shopping with her one day, and toward the end of my recovery journey, and I tried on some clothes and I looked in the mirror and she's like, oh, you look great. And I looked in the mirror and I was like, I look great, huh? I do look great. And I was like, this is the real shit. This is the real world that I now get to live in after the work that I've done and when I'm with my sister, who makes me feel really good about myself. This is the real world. And I had no idea that I had been in a rather body dysmorphic space because of some things that had been going on the few weeks before that, until that moment when I snapped back into the real world and was like, oh, wow, what I've been seeing is different. So, what can you do about it if this is something that you struggle with? Stop body checking. Body checking is when you look in the mirror and you're looking at specific parts of your body. Also, if you ever walk by a storefront and it's a dark window and you walk by and you look at your shoulder, you look over your shoulder and you're like, oh, how do I look today? That's body checking. You can also do it with your hands, feeling certain parts of your body. I had a friend in college who would touch her low belly. And I always make fun of her. I'd be like, just make sure you're still there. And now I know that's body checking. That's probably making sure her belly wasn't sticking out too far. So all those sorts of things, when you feel that happening, just, if you can, stop yourself in the act, turn the other way, do something silly, interrupt that pattern, do something different. Another great thing you can do is ditch your full-length mirror, ditch your scale. Like I said, that one client who literally is having a great day and then steps on the scale and her day tanks because she doesn't like the number. Get rid of that scale. Your day did not actually change. Nothing about you actually changed. All that changed is your perception. And then the last thing is to replace your thoughts. When you do look in the mirror, what are you saying to yourself? Also, if you don't want to actually ditch your full-length mirror completely, stick it in a closet or in your garage. So if you really need it, you can go get it. I understand sometimes you want to check your shoes, see how they work with the taper of your pants and all the things, but make that hard to find if it's something that triggers those thoughts. Okay, so when you do look in the mirror, what are your thoughts? So here's some upgraded blueprint thoughts. If you tend to look in the mirror and criticize your thighs, try thinking, my thighs house muscles that allow me to walk through the world. Think that my body is strong. My body is a spectacular masterpiece. My body is wise. I get more and more beautiful as I age. I am so grateful for all the things that my body helps me experience. And my body is a vehicle for the amazing life I live. And the last one's one of my favorites that was transformative for me, that my body is the least interesting thing about me. It's just one piece of the pie, and it's a small piece. What really matters is how I engage with the world. And in order to engage with the world in a way that I want to, I need to give myself the gift of having peace with my body. So go ahead and just take 30 seconds to jot down any of these or something different that you think will be supportive to you, thoughts that will match your upgraded blueprint.
My mind's been stuck in the in-between. Been trying to find an answer for the last 3 weeks. I can't go back. I can't go back. Always been a dreamer on a crazy ride, but it feels like I've been waiting at the end of the line. I can't go back. I can't go back. Now I finally know who I used to be and where I wanna go. Now I finally know.
Oh, that's such a good song. Okay. So moving right along to step 3, intuitive eating, or eating intuitively in order to fit with the Just Believe framework. This is a huge one. I have to take a little bit longer on this one than all the rest. There are 10 steps, and it's important they're in an order for a reason. So we have to start with the bottom of the pyramid, reject diet culture. Then we learn to honor your hunger, make peace with food, challenge the food police, feel your fullness, eat for satisfaction, cope with your emotions with kindness, respect your body, move joyfully, and then finally nutrition. For those of you who are really into nutrition and health, like I was, it's in there, don't worry, but it's the last step for a reason. So we'll get there. One of my dearest clients was telling me this story. She's done some work with intuitive eating already. And it was around the holidays, and she was saying to me, I'm really struggling with this box of cookies. We have my favorite cookies in the house. And I tell myself I can have one, but then I end up I go have one and I'm not satisfied and I want more and I eat a whole bunch. And that's diet culture speaking, right? You can only have one cookie. You can have a treat, but just one. So I flipped the script on her and I said, you know what? Go to that box of cookies with the intention that you can eat the whole thing. Really, you can eat the whole box of cookies. What's going to happen? What do you think will happen? And she was like, hmm. She's like, I probably eat one and a half cookies, maybe a little more. And I was like, yeah. So like that's the insidiousness of diet culture, is that it's telling you put a limit like that. The natural tendency is to want to break free from those limitations, especially if you're an achiever, right? Especially if you're the high achieving women that I tend to work with, you want to break free. The number one step of intuitive eating is to reject the diet mentality. And that means learning how to accept all food as being okay. There's no good and bad food. But don't worry, there are 10 steps to this process for a reason. You're not just going to say, oh, wow, I can eat everything now. And then this is what everyone's afraid of when they start this. I'm just going to gain weight forever. You're not going to gain weight forever. I promise you. Everybody's body has a place where it's comfortable. And I absolutely thought that when I started this journey. I was like, oh crap, what if I gain weight forever? And it took me about 9 months to regain for my body, because I was at a suppressed weight. I was a severely suppressed weight, for my body to regain weight to a point where it's comfortable. And now I literally eat whatever I want, which I love healthy food, but that's my preference. And I exercise in ways that feels good, and my weight just doesn't change anymore. Your body has a spot where it's happy like that as well. Not that you have to be there. You can do whatever you want, but the point is for you to have freedom. So another piece of intuitive eating is this the importance of interoception. And interoception, not introspection, interoception. Interoception is the perception of sensations inside your body. So you need the skill in order to feel your hunger and fullness cues and what you want to eat. So take a quick minute, and I want you to close your eyes. And if you can, put your hand over your heart. Can you feel your heart beating? If you don't feel your heart beating, you can move your hand to your pulse on your wrist or on your neck and feel your heart beating. If you can feel your heart beating through your hand on your chest, you can take your hand off, keep your eyes closed, and see if you can still feel your heart beating. That is the practice. That is one way to practice listening and hearing your body's cues. Why do we do this? We do this so that you can hear your hunger and fullness cues. So I'm going to ask you a question now that you may have no idea what the answer is, and that's totally okay. But this will, if you don't know right now, I promise over the next few days after planting this question in your head, you'll start to find the answer. But what does hunger feel like to you? And what does fullness feel like to you? And these are different for everybody. For me, hunger, there's a stomach feeling, absolutely. For some people, you can feel it in their throat or in their mouth or in their jaw. Plenty of you here in the Tony Robbins community, I got to do Life and Wealth Mastery. And lots of people during that are saying, oh, I'm not hungry. This is amazing. I'm not eating very much, but I'm not hungry. And what was happening is that like one of the hunger cues is being turned off, because actually if you don't eat very much, you lose your hunger cues. Your body kind of gives up. I felt similarly in that my stomach hunger cue was gone, but I had this yearning, this feeling of something's missing for me and I need to go fill that need. And to me, that is a hunger cue. It's a very specific one for hunger. I think we're all adults here. I'll say it's the feeling of I haven't had an orgasm in a really long time. My body is missing something and I need to go get it. And that's one that took me a much longer time to learn to appreciate, because depending on what I've eaten, my stomach doesn't always give me that cue. Your fullness cues, again, different for everybody. There's usually, for me, there's a point in the meal when I pause and I sit back and I take a deep breath. And that's a cue for me that I'm moving towards satisfaction. May or may not be there yet, Another satisfaction cue for me is that food starts to taste less good. Go ahead, if you haven't already, write down whatever you know so far are some of your hunger and fullness cues.
Oh, I can't believe it only gets better and better and better every single day of my life. Through all of the change I made, I won't go chasing the good old days, 'cause it only gets better. It only gets better. Took a leap of faith just to find my way.
To be continued, I invite you to think about this over the next few days. Whenever you're starting to feel hungry or full, notice what are those sensations. Another fun piece of intuitive eating is the hunger and fullness scale. So once you know your cues, you get to play this game, which is where am I right now on the hunger and fullness scale, and where do I want to be? When I first started to recover from my eating disorder, which was a very restrictive one, I needed to start eating at like a 4, at that feeling of I'm starting to feel hungry, because I felt I had a really strong scare, like fear reaction to getting hungry. I have made myself be hungry for so many years. Now I like to wait till I'm a little bit more hungry to start eating. Also, how full do you get? How, like, maybe it's okay to get painfully full sometimes for some people. For me, Thanksgiving might be like a 9, might be in between an 8 or a 9, even though actually Thanksgiving I don't tend to overeat massively anymore. Because again, once you say, hey, you're allowed to eat as much of this food whenever you want, it actually is no longer that appealing to overeat. But some people might want to overeat on Thanksgiving just for the cultural whatever. It's also totally normal to overeat. That is part of the human experience. The more you practice this, the less you'll do it. But it's okay every now and then. Pop quiz. Where are you right now on the hunger scale? Tune into your body and how are you feeling? I am feeling, I think I'm between a 6 and a 7. A really nice snack before coming on here. Okay. So number 4 is your environment. And we're going to talk about, for your environment, we're going to talk about 2 pieces today. Again, this is just the high level 10,000-foot view with a few zoom-ins. We're talking about social media and environment, because so much of the way that we're social animals, and the way that you perceive yourself and the habits that you have is so impacted by the environment that you have. So for social media, really simple, follow accounts that reinforce your upgraded blueprint, and unfollow any account, ruthlessly unfollow any account that reinforces your outdated blueprint. Anything that you look at that makes you go, oh, about yourself, unfollow, delete, don't look at that. And when you go through if you're on Instagram and you go to search and it shows you all those things, look for the ones that have bodies of all different sizes. Looks for the ones that say things like, your ideal weight is the weight that you're at when you eat the foods you like and you move in a way that feels good in your body. I found that on Instagram, and that was to me. So when you see those things, click on them, and your social media will start to curate and give you more content that's going to help you move toward your upgraded blueprint. It's really cool that you have this actually brilliant machine doing this algorithm for you. And then your community. So consider your people for a second. Who in your life, when you tell them about what you experienced tonight, are going to say, oh yeah, totally get it. That makes sense. Where might you find more people like that? And then finally, who might you want to limit your exposure to? Who in your life has a really strong attachment to a blueprint that would trigger your outdated blueprint? I have a very dear friend who is strongly attached to a certain diet because she believes that it's going to save her and her family from getting cancer. And I have the utmost love and respect for her and for that choice. And when I was early on in this journey, that was really hard for me. And we have such a wonderful, loving, communicative relationship. but it was good that she lived far away. So I didn't have to navigate that on a daily basis. Also, the people you respect have a bigger impact on you. So is there anybody that you need to take some space from or be mentally prepared to spend time with? And finally, enjoyment. One of my favorite quotes is, if it's not fun, it's not sustainable. So celebrate your wins. Several years ago, actually the last time that my mom came to visit me, she was here last week. The last time, many years ago, we got to go up into the mountains together. I live in Colorado. We went up to Netherland, which is this beautiful little mountain town with this really cool carousel. And we talked about getting ice cream. And I love ice cream. For those of you who don't know, I have a little ice cream cone tattoo here. Ice cream is my favorite food. And at this point, I was totally in my outdated blueprint. I was so very much indoctrinated into diet culture, but I knew if ice cream is my favorite food, I have to let myself eat ice cream. I'm not gonna not let myself eat my favorite food. But I was also worried about it for all of the other reasons that diet culture would make you worry about ice cream. Another story that I had was that I couldn't eat if I wasn't hungry. So we had lunch, and then I just wanted to walk as much as I could to try to get hungry so I could eat ice cream. And my mom is a lot older than me, so I kept telling her, okay, you go look around the store. I'm going to keep walking. And she probably didn't know this, but I was walking to try to get an appetite for ice cream, which never ended up showing up. And we found one kind of ice cream that wasn't the right kind because it was the kind that had more sugar and less fat. And I was like, oh no, I don't want the sugar. At that point, I was like, well, fat is better than sugar. So I need to go find some real ice cream. So we find somewhere else, finally get some ice cream. We sit down in the sun at a picnic table. And I start eating my ice cream and crying. And my mom is sitting there like, is there anything I can do? What's happening? I'm like, no, you're fine. It's fine. I'm sitting there literally crying, eating ice cream. And sadly, that wasn't the first time that happened. So one of my greatest pleasures in life now is getting to eat ice cream whenever I want to. Literally. Like if I want ice cream for breakfast, I would eat ice cream for breakfast. And I've done it. And then sometimes I'm like, that didn't feel great. But in the middle of the day, sometimes I'll love having a snack of ice cream. And sometimes I don't. Today I made a weird little protein banana smoothie thing that kind of felt like ice cream. It definitely wasn't ice cream, but it hit the spot. Anyway, enjoyment and celebration. One of the best parts of this journey is once you start doing these things, once you start feeling your hunger and fullness cues, and you start being able to respect your body and love your body, are those little wins that you actually get every single day because you eat every single day. And it's been years since I've been in what I would say in recovery from this, and I still have those moments of just, wow, this is so fun. I just ate that thing, and that thing used to really bother me. So, enjoyment and celebration, one of my favorite parts of this process. So, we just did a really high level flyover view of Nourish to Flourish, the Just Be system. And the reason that I care so much about this is because of the freedom that it's given me and the freedom that I can give other people. And I have had the opportunity to give more clients. What I have after years of struggling myself, I've condensed this into a much shorter time with my clients. I spend about 3 months with them, which is much shorter than the maybe 2 decades. Like, how long have you actually been struggling with this? Has it been a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades? And I condensed this process into just 3 months. And I have a small group program. So I want to keep it really intimate. So you have people that you're in community with, but you also get plenty of personalized attention because this is a personal journey. It is a different journey for everybody. And I'm here to support each and every one of my clients through that. So we get to really dive into that blueprint of what is it going to take for you to have that peace and that freedom and the joy and the love, and like, how can you feel worthy and lovable and good enough, right? Our deepest fear is that we're not going to be good enough and we're not going to be loved. And how can you have that? How can you have that no matter what? And that is what I help people move through. And that is what I would love for each of you. And for some people, what you learned tonight is just what you needed and it's just enough. And I'm so happy for you for that. And if you have anything to share, actually, I would be over the moon if I got a message from you saying, hey, this was so awesome and this helped me with this or that. Anything like that would be awesome if it's just what you needed. If you're somebody who looks at these things and says, hey, I could use more of this and I'm really serious about making a change, then I want to talk to you. If you are that person, you can find a time on my calendar. I've opened up, honestly, just a few spots for strategy calls. It's normally a $450 value because we're actually going to talk about where you're at, what you need, and if my program or my support will be the right help for you or not. If you are interested, like I said, it's actually just a few spots. So you can scan the QR code or go to Coach Caroline Connect and find a spot on my calendar to talk more. And now is your chance to think about your upgraded blueprint. So you can finish the sentence. My upgraded blueprint that makes it easy for me to feel all the things I want to feel, regardless of what's happening with my body, is blank. And then one action or practice that I'm committed to is blank. And I'm going to give you an extra couple minutes and a couple minutes to do this with one of my favorite songs.
Like a sunrise on the longest night, like a rescue, coming just in time, yeah, you save me when I cannot see the light. Like a heartbeat through a lonely drum, when I thought that the end had come, you remind me that it's only just begun. Took my soul down to the water, mama, I came back a different man. Long as we got one another singing, oh, oh, oh. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Got a brand new lease on life. Everything's gonna be alright. When I look into your eyes, got a brand new lease on life. Like a deep breath, wanna take you in when I hold you. I'm alive again, you're the proof that God's been listening. You're the side where the grass is green, yeah, you shake me like a tambourine. No jerseys, but we make quite a team. When you took my soul down to the water, mama, I came back a different man. Long as we got one another singing, oh, oh, oh. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Got a brand new lease on life. Everything's gonna be alright. When I look into your eyes, got a brand new lease on life.
This is actually one of my favorite songs because I feel like this process gave me a new lease on life. Before this, all I cared about was being thin. Really, if you asked me when I was a teenager, what do you want to be when you grow up? The real honest answer was skinny. Wouldn't have said that. But I felt so strongly that my worth and my value was tied to my body and how I looked. And this process has really given me a whole new life. It's given me the opportunity to create a business, to be an entrepreneur, to want to go out and serve other people. It's changed my relationships. I actually never had a serious relationship before I started this process. And I used to have a cycle of every time I lose weight, I would get into a short-term relationship. Someone would like me and I would be like, okay. And it wasn't until I started to go through this process and realizing that my value and my worth had nothing to do with my body that I got into my very first long-term relationship. And again, people will be like, meet me and be like, wait, really? You've never been in a relationship? Because what they saw was not how I felt and not how I perceived myself. And I know I'm looking at the names of these people, of those of you who are on this call, and you're such incredible, beautiful human beings. And if you have even a glimmer of what I went through, and that's something that you're experiencing, I would be so honored to do whatever I can to support you in finding that freedom and have the way other people see you actually be the way that you see yourself and the things that you feel about yourself. So, my new blueprint is that my body is wise, whole, healthy, and strong. It knows what to eat and how much to eat, when to exercise, and when to rest. All I have to do is to listen and enjoy. And my reality is the same. And I'm the happiest I've ever been. So here's another opportunity for my calendar. Like I said, if you are serious about making a change, if it sounds like something that you're ready for, schedule a call. If it feels like too much too fast, but you're like, that sounds good. I just don't know if I'm there yet. This is all brand new to me. If I'm the first person who's ever told you your worth is not attached to your body and like your body can change and you can be still just as valuable and lovable and all those things, we might be a better candidate for a one-on-one working relationship. Again, if you're serious about making a change wherever you are, go ahead and grab one of those spots and we can see how I can help you if it's the right fit. Here's a little connect with me. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, BodyKInd Collective is officially launched on Instagram. Caroline Cohen official is my other Instagram. And then one final gift for you, that hunger and fullness scale I showed you earlier. I have a worksheet. So this is a great thing that you can practice over the next week. After the call, you have the hunger and fullness scale at the top, and then a little worksheet about what actions you took and what you're feeling. So you go ahead and scan the QR code for that. And if you have any questions, reach out to me by email or my social media accounts. So thank you all for joining tonight.